Hello and welcome to the Sherlock Reel. My name is Carl Sherlock and we're back. We're back with a bang this week. We're tackling movie franchises. And today we have the Retrotainment lads with us again. Ted, the regular on the show.
Good guy Ted here. How you doing? I always vote for the good guy stuff.
Perfect. And then Greg, you're joining us back again as well.
Starting to become a regular.
You are indeed. You are
Ted,
indeed.
I really wish you'd change your name to. Oh, it is changed.
It's good guy Ted.
It is
So
good guy Ted. We have good guy Ted here.
Yeah.
We're going to start off with a big one here, okay? The way these are ranked 1 to 32, they're the franchises that has earned the most money. That's how they've made it into this list. So we can guess what number 1 is. The MCU,
Yeah.
as a franchise in a whole, and that's going up against number 32, Rambo. And Ted, we'll start
Rambo
off with
made it to
Wow.
32.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez, I did not think
Rambo made
would-
it to 32.
we did indeed. So
Yes.
the 24 films of the MCU up against the 5 films of Rambo.
Genuinely, even with 5 films, I'm surprised Rambo is so low down on that list.
Yeah. So you can
Genuinely.
imagine what
in the
films
list.
are coming into this.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised about it being in the list. Like the Rambo is huge. Like
No,
as a franchise.
I know it's huge, but like you think the first one came out in what, late 70s, early 80s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then the
wasn't
then the
going to be
newest
that
one.
huge of a box office.
Remember,
but
there's only 5
2008,
films though.
the
There's only 5 films.
Yeah, but
So-
then the newest one only came out recently, and that would have made huge money. So that's what would pump it up. Like,
I suppose, yeah. I forgot the newest one only came out in 2019 or 2018.
Yeah.
Geez, I like. I thought this was when you said like number 1 versus number 32. I was like, it's gonna be a cakewalk. Like Marvel's gonna cakewalk anything that far down on the list. This is actually
Yeah.
is a surprising.
Well, yeah,
one for
you
me.
have to. The way we're doing this, like you have to think, like the MCU could have the much better film, but it also could have the worst film. Now, in this instance, doesn't. There's some bad Rambo movies, so like
Yeah.
kind of judge these on overall. Does the whole thing stand up? Like not just like, or you might prefer one, but you might hate one. Like the franchise
Yeah.
altogether.
As much as I do love Rambo, it's the MCU. Like there's a couple of not great films in the MCU.
But still good. I don't think there's a bad MCU film.
Hulk is pretty bad.
Captain Marvel.
No, Captain Marvel's okay. It's just not as good as
mediocre. It's mediocre.
It's just not good because it's been compared to the other Marvel films. Hulk is probably bad.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Are they even
in
in the
its own-
universe though?
Hulk's in the universe.
I know that. Is
The
one of them
Incredible Hulk
Sony?
The Incredible Hulk
Yeah,
is
well,
the,
all of
the
the Hulk
original
film-
one. Yeah,
All of the Hulks have been pretty bad.
Sure.
The standalone Hulk films, but I mean, if you're going to make 28 plus like or whatever amount of films, like I think it's 28 now, but there's more coming. Like if you're going to make that many of them, you're going to have a few that aren't great. And I think Rambo has had a couple, like at least one of the Rambos isn't great, And if you're talking 1 out of 5 not being great and 1 out of 28 not being
24.
great, it's kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go with MCU there.
One vote for the MCU. Do you go the same way there, Greg, yourself?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do love Rambo.
Yeah,
There's just too many very, very good Marvel
MCU
movies.
films. Yeah,
Um,
it's hard to argue
Rambo-
against it, really.
Rambo 1 could stand up against 90% of them.
True.
Probably taking out the Avengers. Like if you put it up against the likes of Thor, Iron Man, it could stand up on its own. But Rambo 2 is good. Some people say it's better than the first one. Rambo 3 was terrible.
4 wasn't
the one where he
great.
goes back to
4
Azerbaijan.
just went.
4
just went
was
all out
never
action.
going to be anything.
Yeah.
There was never going to be anything. 5 tried to have a story to it, and I quite enjoyed 5.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, it has to be Marvel.
Perfect. And that, yeah.
Hurts me to say, I do love Rambo.
Oh no, I love Rambo myself, but going up against the might of the MCU, it's not going to take it out. To be honest, the next one is quite interesting. Though.
in the high in the list.
True. Next one though, we have number 20 against number 16, and Greg, you'll start off with your hair. Number 20 is the Terminator franchise. Up
Okay.
against number 16, Indiana Jones.
Ooh.
Oh,
There's some
no.
stinkers on both sides, and there's also some great ones on both sides. So, what
Again,
way do you go?
again, there's one bad Indiana Jones. Just one. Temple of Doom isn't great, but it's
Temple
not
of Doom,
bad.
I'd say. I I put
Actually,
Cri- I put Crystal Skull as number 2 on my list for Indiana Jones films. I only
really?
rewatched them recently. It's better than a lot of them, to be honest. The first one's the best, but the other uh uh
No, no, I don't know. 1 and 3. Like if you ask me today and ask tomorrow, I'd say 1 or 3. I flip flop
yeah,
between it. Like
I go
Terminator one
one
and
four
two, and
three.
then
Yeah, the rest.
2. The rest. Well, like I'm glad this is now and not in 8 months' time when the new Indiana Jones is due to come out.
It's true.
But I think I'm gonna go Indiana.
One vote for Indy.
That original trilogy is probably better than the 5 Terminators. Is it 5, 6
Terminators.
maybe?
There is. I have this all down.
I
There's
don't
6
understand.
Terminator films now. 6 of them now.
Yeah, no.
And let's be
Indiana
honest.
Jones for me.
If you're going off the original
After
ones, Terminator would
if Terminator
walk
wins,
this all day long. But that franchise has been milked for everything that it's worth, and it's not enjoyable to look forward to it anymore. So my vote is
no.
going for Indiana Jones just for that simple reason. As much as I love Terminator and I really do love the franchise, and I'll still go and see a new Terminator film if it comes out because I actually really enjoyed the last one.
Oh,
Um, but Indiana
unfortunately,
Jones
I'm
is
the
going to.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones gets my vote as well. Ted, do you agree?
that's the problem when you.
Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
I said that's the problem when you fall in love with a franchise.
Yeah.
You'll go and see it and see it and see it, and it doesn't matter how much shit they keep posting out.
You'll still see it again.
You just go back to the well and watch it. Like
Very true. Very true.
I think Terminator, in terms of Terminator 1 and 2, I would say those 2 films are better.
Yes.
Are better than probably any Indiana Jones film.
Oh, 100%, I agree.
I know some people might disagree because they'd be more into the style of film of Indiana Jones, but I would say both of those films would dominate any of the Indiana Jones films. The problem is that there was then a 10 or 12 year gap between 2 and 3, and it was kind of like awesome. Yeah, and it was kind of like we just want to reboot Terminator because we know we can make some money out of it. And the films since then, they haven't been awful. Like, they're enjoyable enough, I suppose, to sit down and watch. But in comparison to the original 2, they're just not great.
They pale in comparison.
Yeah, which is the problem, because as a franchise, it started so strong and got so weak.
It was going to be near impossible, though.
Yeah, but you could, if you start really strong, you can normally kind of continue on strong enough for a certain length of time before you dip off. Whereas they just went really strong for 2 and then went really weak for a while. So yeah, I think Indiana Jones probably does win it as a franchise. But it's sad to see 2 films like Terminator 1 and 2 get knocked out so early, but the rest of them kind of let them down. So
yeah. Now, speaking of franchises that started off really strong and then went down, we have 2 franchises that has up next that are doing that. We have Shrek versus Die Hard.
Easy.
This may surprise you, but as a whole, I think the Shrek franchise is better than Die Hard. The only reason being is because, have you seen Die Hard recently? After number 4, after number 4, there's another one after that. Is there not another 2 after that or something like that? Like, it gets real bad.
The one in Russia.
Yeah, It gets real
Die
bad.
Hard, Die Rusher.
But with Jai Courtney in it, which is he's in a couple of these because he was in Terminator as well. And like it was bad. It was really, really bad. The Shrek franchise, even though 4 tails off quite a bit, it's
and
still
then some.
and then there's Puss in Boots as well, which is part of the franchise as well. I'd still have to.
The little
I'd still.
mini movies.
I'd have to give I have to give my vote here to Shrek, just simply because of how much it hurts me that Die Hard went so poor. So I'll give my one vote to Shrek there. And this is, by the way, Shrek is ranked number 12 in this, while Die Hard is 24.
Yeah, it's madness. Who's up?
Ted, what about yourself?
This one's actually very hard because I think Shrek 1 and 2 are very good.
Yeah.
3 was passable, and then 4 it was just like, let's just get another one out there because we can make some money out of that. And then Puss in Boots was again just they found that they had a character in Antonio Banderas, and we're like, man, Antonio Banderas was great in that first film that we had him. Let's give him his own one. And I was like, yeah, that's great, but that wasn't good. They just shouldn't have done that. I think Shrek does have some other spin-off things, doesn't it? It has like a Christmas one, or
they're not feature films. So
yeah, they're not feature films.
They have both these franchises have 5 feature releases.
Yeah, okay. So we're not talking all the other crap that Shrek put out. Then it's just the films. Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, yeah, I think you probably are right. I think Shrek as just films holds up stronger. Die Hard 1, untouchable. Die Hard 2, good. But the kind of story is, kind of did everything by the time you got there, and then A Good Day to Die Hard, which is the newest one. I think that's the newest one, isn't it? Or is there
3 was quality, lads.
3 was quality.
The one in Russia.
Well,
no, 3 is the one in Russia, which is the one I was thinking of. That is very good. A Good
Day
to Die Hard is
3 is the one with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
A Good Day to Die Hard it was so bad. Like, and it was
long.
Yeah. So it probably is. Yeah, it probably is Shrek in terms of when you take all of the films.
Yeah.
Combined
as a whole.
I
don't like doing it.
No, I don't like doing it because the first Die Hard is just so good. But I think some of the later Die Hards, Die Hard 4 was.
Oh, number 5 was even worse.
5 was really bad. Die Hard 4.
You've got Die Hard 1 that had arguably one of the best bad guy performances.
Oh, 100%.
Ever, right? And then you've got Die Hard 3, which had Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Them 2 are better than the 2 best Shreks.
Yeah, but are the worst? Are the ones that are worse?
Die Hard 2 is definitely better than the 3rd worst Shrek. Die Hard 4 Die Hard 4 and Puss in Boots are probably about par. That's how bad the boat were. Not Die Hard 4. Die Hard Good. I don't know. Whatever the last one is. The one in Russia, where they fall through the window and through the pool and everything. That's as Puss in Boots, and 4 is probably about par with Shrek. For me, it'd have to be Die Hard. And I don't get me wrong. I only watch Shrek with the kids. I watched Shrek 1, 2, 3, and 4 the other day. Well, not the other day, but over the last little while. I think Die Hard overall is a better one. They're better movies than Shrek does.
I think the bads in Die Hard are worse than the bads in Shrek.
I agree.
Like the bads in Shrek are just the bads in Shrek are just like you kind of really didn't have too much of a story going here, and Puss in Boots where you were like, hey, let's see if we can get this character and get them their own film, which I didn't particularly enjoy, but it did seem to be relatively well liked by some people.
It made money
because they liked Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. He is very good as the character, whereas Die Hard 4 and Die Hard 5, no one was clamoring about them. Like, in any way.
True.
They were just like, yeah, these are awful. So I think the bads of
Yeah,
Die Hard are worse than the bads of Shrek, is what tips it for me.
So Shrek goes through to the next round. Next up, we have number 8 up against number 28. And this one is quite pivotal to the whole thing, I think, to be honest. We have Middle Earth, so that's the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, up against the Hannibal franchise.
I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so you've got what? Silence of the Lambs.
There's the 5 films in the Hannibal franchise, and if you include Manhunter, he's technically a character in that.
I'm trying to think of
that's the one I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Trying to think of the full Hannibal franchise here.
Lambs, Hannibal, Dragon.
Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon.
Yeah.
And then the unfortunate Hannibal Lecter, which is awful.
Hannibal Rising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the best bit of Hannibal is where he fries your man's brain.
Such a bad movie. It is a terrible movie. It ruins it ruins that trilogy. Yeah. It really does. Like, that would go down as probably the best trilogy of all time if it wasn't for that film.
Is there another Hannibal on its way out, or am I wrong?
It's a TV show.
Yeah.
Is there not a film coming out?
I think there was rumors. There was rumors of it.
Not a Clarice film coming out.
Yes, there is a Clarice film. Yeah.
Which it would then be. But obviously, I can't judge. Yeah, there's a Clarice film coming out, but it's been delayed because obviously
the world,
COVID. Yeah, the COVID stopped the world. But I can't judge on that because I have no idea like how good or bad that's going to be. Yeah.
It's tough because like the 3 Lord of the Rings films are
all great,
out of this world, amazing. You know,
all 3 of them are brilliant.
The first Hobbit, I'd put not as good as those 3, but still.
No, but it's very, very good. Yeah. The second one is okay.
There's a drop and go, and then the third one is almost unwatchable.
The third one is crap up until you get to the Battle of the 5 Armies, like when the battle is kind of actually taking place.
Yeah.
But everything up until then is kind of just bleh. The problem there was that they made it 3. They made it 3 films. It's like, as a book, it is smaller than any of the Lord of the Rings books.
And they stretched it.
They stretched it to 3 films just to make money. So, I think like the Lord of the Rings themselves are just so strong, and the one Hobbit is very strong.
Yeah.
One is
as I said,
okay,
this one here is a pivotal moment in this list because both could go far if they go through.
Silence of the Lambs is
one of the best movies of all time.
It's just damn near untouchable.
Yeah, and Red Dragon is very good.
Red Dragon's really underrated.
Yeah,
it is underrated, but Hannibal Rising is not awful. Hannibal Rising is not awful. Hannibal is terrible.
Awful. It's worse than any of the Hobbit movies.
And then what's the fifth? What's the fifth?
Manhunter.
No, Manhunter. Sorry, Mindhunter. He's not. That's not a whole lot in that of him.
There's not no, but he's the character in it, so it had to be included in the franchise.
Yeah. That's not great either.
Yeah.
So you're talking what? Three good ones in terms of Hannibal, and then I would say four
for Middle Earth, but they do have an extra film as well.
But I also think that Hannibal Rising is okay. I don't think it's great.
Yeah.
Whereas the 3 the 3 really good Lord of the Rings ones are all really good.
Yeah.
So I'll probably go Lord of the Rings here, just because of how much I enjoyed the original trilogy and 2 of the 3 parts of The Hobbit. And I think I would have enjoyed 2 parts of The Hobbit had they just made it 2.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And what about yourself, Greg? I know you're a horror fan.
I'm a horror fan, but
it
hurts me to say that Hannibal would go out, like the Silence of the Lambs not going through, but the rest of the stuff isn't. Other than Red Dragon is very good, but the rest of it's a bit.
Like Silence of the Lambs on its own deserves could nearly go on to win this drag. It could drag. That's the equivalent of Messi playing for Argentina. He could drag his way through.
It's very true.
Unfortunately, it's got a rough draw here.
It has. It's just the way it turned out.
Any of the first groupings, it'd have been through 3-0. And not a thought about it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And you don't go from winning the 3 big ones for a horror film to not be considered as good as it is. You know what I mean?
Of course. I know there's no denying it's an amazing film. But Hannibal was
Red. I really Red Dragon. It was a good take to it.
Oh yeah, I only watched the trilogy recently, with the wife who had never seen any of them, and Red Dragon's her favorite of the 3.
Hannibal Rising, as Ted said, was passable.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than the third Hobbit.
Hannibal. It's definitely better than Hannibal as well.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you could make a film down Bray Main Street and you'd be better than Hannibal. I don't know what he was thinking when he done that.
True.
I think I don't know. You probably have to go Lord of the Rings just for the 3 alone.
Yeah, unfortunately,
not even talking about the other 3.
Yeah, it's
a bad draw here.
Unfortunately, it's a 3-0 for Middle Earth to go through, which is unfortunate. You know, if Hannibal was against something else, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles and the way the draw comes.
I think it's just unfortunate that some of the Hannibal films are so bad.
Yes.
It's hard for them to be dragged through by even something as good as Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon.
True. But next up, and we'll start with yourself then, Greg, for this one. It's number 5 up against number 25. It's the DCU at number 5 up against Lethal Weapon at 25. So the 4 Lethal Weapon films up against the 9 DCU films. So we're talking about the DCU, not all the other previous old ones.
Not Christopher Nolan's one.
Not the Christopher Nolan ones, not the Batman, not the Tim Burton ones or anything like that. It's just the DCU films, the extended universe.
Just Ben Affleck then, isn't it?
Ben Affleck and Ford, and Henry Cavill and Ford and all that. Yeah. Up against the 4 Lethal Weapons.
Lethal Weapon 1 was great. Richard Donner was what he could do was phenomenal. Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, it was comic gold really. For an action movie, the two of them were brilliant together. Joe Pesci as Leo Getz.
Hilarious.
I'm gonna go Lethal Weapon. I don't really like any of the DCU. I thought Aquaman was atrocious.
I 100% agree.
This is Batman, the Superman. I've watched twice, and I will not try and watch it again. Suicide Squad was terrible. No, Lethal Weapon for me.
I'm not even going to waste my breath.
I know that.
I'm not going to waste my breath in the DCU. I don't like most of the films. Man of Steel, I really enjoyed, but that was really pretty much about it. There's not too much more in the whole of the DCU that I do like. And as we discussed here, and Ted had the perfect nickname for Aquaman of Soggy Superman. I'm not. I can't in good conscience vote for the DCU, and I really enjoyed the Lethal Weapon film, so I'm not disappointed about having to vote them through. So Lethal Weapon is going through. Would you vote the same way though, Ted?
I'm genuinely surprised that DCU was 5th. Like genuinely surprised at how high that was.
It earns the money. Superhero movies earn money.
It does. Suicide Squad had had the potential to be very, very good. Then didn't hold up to that.
The Oscar-winning Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it had the potential. It had the potential to be very, very good, and didn't live up to that. The new Suicide Squad looks like it has the potential as well to be very good. So hopefully this one does live up to the potential.
Fingers crossed.
How funny does it look like Sylvester Stallone being a shark?
Does Birds of Prey fall into this as well? Okay, yeah, Birds of Prey isn't great. It's okay for what it is. It's just. It's a very, and like I hate saying this about films, but it's very much a girl power sort of thing. Where
that I don't mind. I didn't mind that aspect of the film, but the movie was bad.
Yeah, see, I normally don't mind that in a film. What I didn't like about it being in this film is that was the plot of the film. Girl power was the plot of the film, and it was like, don't worry about everything else that we do because girl power, which made the film bad because the plot didn't work, because they didn't put any work into the plot. They were just like, let's just make sure that all the girls look badass, which is fine, but you need to have a plot behind that, because like MCU did it when they had, in the big fight scenes where they had the girls fighting on their own, like where you just had all the girls, they all looked badass, but it made sense in the story. Perfect. Whereas this, they were like, don't worry about a story, we'll just have this. Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League was very, very good. Very long, but very, very good. The problem is that is not what they released.
It's true.
They had to re-release it because it was so bad. It was so bad that people were like, this is terrible, and they were like, we better release what he did. Batman was always going to struggle to hold up, because I think the Christian Bale one was just so well received and so well liked. It was always going to be hard to follow up on that. So yeah, like Lethal Weapon is, here's mental action of like 80s style action where loads of shooting, loads of like mental characters chasing things down and running after things. That's what I want. That's what I wanted in it. That's what I got in it. So yeah, Lethal Weapon's a clear walk through there.
Another 3-0. Yeah. Another 3-0 to go through. Speaking of shutting your mind off for something, we have number 9 here, Fast and the Furious, up against number 21, The Conjuring.
Oh
no. Yeah, and
oh no.
I haven't seen all of the Conjuring films in the universe. How many is there at this stage? There is...
I'm even trying to think here.
6 films in the Conjuring universe.
5? No, 7, is there? Annabelle has 3.
6. And then there's the Nun. And then there's the 2
and then there's the Conjuring 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, and maybe there's 7.
No, there's the new Conjuring came out. Yeah.
That was not included. That was not included in my list there. But then we also have 10 Fast and Furious films, including Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh, so it doesn't include the newest Fast and Furious with family.
Does. Oh, it's so bad. And
the
that
family.
was Fast 9. Yeah, it was just absolute awful.
We got family.
And simply because of how bad Fast 9 was, I'm voting Conjuring.
Hold on. Out of that 9 films or 10 films in the Fast and the Furious, right?
Yeah.
You're voting that out due to how bad 9 was. Did you watch Hobbs versus Shaw?
But is 9 included?
9 is included, yeah. Yeah, and so's the Conjuring.
Should that not be 11 then?
Yeah, because Fast 1 to 9 and then Hobbs and Shaw.
There's 9.
Tokyo Drift and...
That's number 3.
Yeah, that's 3.
I thought there was a Fast and Furious 3.
So it's Fast
and Tokyo Drift was
Tokyo Drift was 3.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and
Furious, Tokyo Drift.
And then Fast 4.
Fast
5, Fast 6, Fast 7, Fast 8, Fast 9.
Sorry, I always thought that was its own like little thing, like Hobbs and Shaw was its own little bit.
No.
Shaw, Jesus Christ, that's so bad.
Ted, what about yourself? How are you voting here?
Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
Oh, Greg, you go
ahead. Well, you voted against Fast and the Furious, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, well, I'm going the same. The Conjuring for me brought horror back in a big way. 1 and 2. Annabelle 1 was shite. 2 was okay. 3 was 3 was enjoyable. 1 was terrible. The new Conjuring itself, The Devil Made Me Do It, was okay. Wasn't as good as the first 2 because I had a new director, but still better than the Fast and Furious. Now, Fast and Furious 1 and 2 were very good, and
then when
I
The
think it's
Rock brought it back
3.
for a while, The Rock brought it back, and it was good. Then from the first 2 that The Rock was in, was really, really
Five
good.
and 6, yeah,
Yeah,
where
they
they were
were
in
really good.
Brazil.
Yeah, and then it's just gone
Yeah, but
downhill since.
I liked Fast and the Furious when it was actually about racing, and they weren't like
Now they're going
mad
up
super
into
spy
space.
fucking. See, I haven't seen 9, and I'll watch it just because franchise, and I'll watch it. But no, Conjuring's easy. The better movies here.
Greg, do you agree? Or Ted, sorry, do you agree?
Conjuring 1 and 2 are very strong. Annabelle, as Greg said, was
they're
muck.
class.
Annabelle
2 wasn't bad.
Yeah, but Annabelle itself was muck. Annabelle 2 was better than Annabelle 1. The Nun wasn't great. That The Curse of La Llorona.
La Llorona.
That's not
That's
great
not
either.
That's not part of it. I don't think.
It is. Yeah, that's part of the Conjuring.
I don't think that's actually.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure it is part of it. I think it. I'm pretty sure that it's part of that universe.
If it is, I haven't seen it.
It's not great. Yeah, well, it's not very good. Conjuring 3 I haven't actually seen yet, but I've heard mixed reviews on it. Fast and Furious I think is enjoyable for what Fast and Furious is. Started out as being all about racing. The first one I ever saw was Tokyo Drift, and I thought that was like, I wasn't mad into cars. And I was like, yeah, it was pretty good. Like, they drove cars really fast, drove around really fast, and the police chased them a bit. That's basically what I expected here. The rest of the Fast and Furious are very similar to that until kind of the later ones, when it becomes more of like let's have loads of fights where we're driving our cars over like into fighting zones and stuff like that, which is
pushing torpedoes along the ground and flying your car into space and all that
crap.
which all went a bit mental. But then I did enjoy Hobbs and Shaw. I actually thought Hobbs and Shaw was very.
That was really good. I enjoyed Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, that was really good.
Fucking atrocious.
I really liked Hobbs and Shaw. I thought it was really good.
Me too. I really liked it.
Nothing to do with Fast and Furious, really, but it was good. I haven't seen Fast and Furious 9 yet. The only thing I know about Fast 9 is that family thing, and I've really enjoyed the family memes, so I've liked them.
That's not even just from that though.
I've seen 25 new films this year because I keep a list of all the new films I see. Fast 9 is number 24 on my list. It's that bad. Like, it's really, really bad.
Yeah, no, Conjuring does deserve to go through here, but I think like Fast and Furious is enjoyable for what it is. If it hadn't come up against Conjuring, it might have got through.
Perfect. So that's Conjuring.
Probably would have got through most of the battles.
Some of them, yeah.
So next up, and we'll start this one with Greg. We have, with Ted. Apologies, Ted. You're going to start this one off. It's number 13 against number 17. It's Star Trek at 13 up against The Bournes at 17.
It's like Bourne Identity and Bourne Ultimatum and all, is it?
Yes, it is indeed. So there's the 5 Bourne films up against the 13 Star Trek films.
Okay, I'm going to vote Bourne here because I have never been a Trekkie. I've never watched anything to do with Star Trek, so I can't vote for it. I've heard that the newer ones were actually quite okay.
I enjoyed the newer ones.
I've never watched them, so I can't vote for them.
I'll be honest, I've seen only 3 Star Trek films, and it's the 3 new ones that I saw, and I really enjoyed them. But if you talk to a Trekkie, they're their least favorite ones because it's not Star Trek to them. It's more of a Star Wars movie.
Different. Yeah.
So they much prefer the other original 10 films, but I tried to watch one of them and it wasn't for me. So like, obviously I'm a Star Wars fan, so the new Star Trek films worked for me better.
Yeah. I never watched Star Trek, the older films. I never even tried watching them because I watched 1 or 2 episodes of it and didn't think much of it. It's okay. Like, it's enjoyable. Like, if I had to put something on, like, I wouldn't be like, no, you're not allowed to put that on. But it wouldn't be my
it's not
first
for me.
choice
It's
either.
not my thing.
Whereas the Bourne franchise is basically, here's loads of mindless action. Sit down and watch it, and it delivers on that every time. I think.
I don't know about that now.
The first three
I don't know
are
about
great.
the mindless action.
I wouldn't say it's mindless action. It's all strategic kind of thing, and it's done really well. Now there's some great action moments in it. The first three are really good. I saw then the fourth one when Matt Damon wasn't in it and Jeremy Renner took over the role, and then Matt Damon came back for the fifth one. And the first three are just fantastic. It's a great trilogy. That original trilogy for the Bournes is up there for the last 20 years, one of the better trilogies in the last 20 years. But I'm voting Bourne here as well. Are you the same for a 3-0 here, Greg? Are you?
Yeah, I'm not. I've seen one movie, and it's the old one where they are rescuing a whale off a planet for some reason. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, I think
it's called the Rat the Can.
No, the Rat the Can is meant to be very good. That's number two. I know that's number 2. I think the one with the whales is number 6.
I don't know. I've never watched. Never got into Star Wars. I did enjoy the Bourne, the trilogy. I don't think I've actually seen the Jeremy Renner one properly.
Yeah, he's just another agent who was
actually,
mind wiped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense. I thought he was actually Jason Bourne. No, but definitely Bourne. The first 3 in Bourne were brilliant. And then like to bring him back as well was a stroke of genius, because he realized it just didn't work.
Didn't work without him. Greg, we'll start off with yourself on this one. We have number 29, which is Back to the Future. Up at 29. No. Up against number 4, which is the X-Men universe. So like you have the original 3 X-Men. You also have the new trilogy as well, and you have the two Deadpool films as well. Those it's 13. Actually, there might be more as well, because there's 13 X-Men films, because you have the Wolverine spin-offs as well.
There's Dark Phoenix as well, isn't there?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So the 4 new ones, the original trilogy, all the Wolverine spin-offs, and the 2 Deadpool films. Up against the original, or the 3 classic Back to the Futures.
X-Men 1 and 2, X-Men and X2.
Yeah,
I really enjoy. 3 gets 3 gets a lot of hate.
Deservedly
it's enjoyable for what it was enjoyable to watch as a. If you put that on as just a standalone movie, it's just a lot of mutants killing each other, which is fine. It didn't do anything for the franchise. It pretty much killed the franchise.
Did.
I've said on recent or previous shows, I'm not a fan of the new ones. Don't like James McAvoy. But for me, Back to the Future was well ahead of its time.
Oh yeah,
it was so good. I get jokes. Christopher Lloyd and
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox were fantastic. The story, the premise, everything was brilliant. I'm going Back to the Future.
I'm joining you there. As much as I'm a superhero fan, and some of the X-Men films are great, Logan being one of them is phenomenal.
Logan was fantastic.
Logan is phenomenal, and like it's one of the best movies I've seen in a long, long time. But it's Back to the Future. Like there's the 3 of them are strong. There's some really bad X-Men films, and that's the only reason. That's the reasoning I'm given to taking Back to the Future over X-Men. Are you agreeing yourself, Ted?
Yeah. So like X-Men 1 and X-Men 2, both very good.
Yeah.
X-Men 3, they tried to do the story of the Phoenix, and they kind of rushed it, which made it bad.
They failed twice doing the Phoenix story.
See, but at that time they tried to do the Phoenix and it went wrong, and you're like, okay, you tried to do something into one film and you probably should have made it into two, because the Phoenix is it's a very difficult character to get through the story of what happens, because the Phoenix is a good character, then it starts to enjoy human emotions and becomes bad, and then
fingers crossed the MCU does it well. In Feige we trust.
they made a mistake there, and you're like, okay, he's made a mistake. Then they were like, right, we're going to do X-Men Origins, and I was really looking forward to that. I was like, X-Men Origins sounds brilliant. The Wolverine one wasn't great. They had a few characters in it that it really didn't work, and then because that was so bad, they scrapped all the other ones. They were like, we're not going to do the other ones, that was so bad. So then they were like, we'll do a different Wolverine film, which again, that's the one where he goes
to
Japan, like the Wolverine. That's actually okay. It's not awful. It's okay. In between,
is that the one with Liv Schreiber?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they have X-Men First Class, which I thought was very good. Days of Future Past was good, but not as good as the first. So it was kind of on a bad slope. Apocalypse, brutal. Logan was
amazing
for what it was. There's certain things I didn't like about it, but overall it was very good. Dark Phoenix, again, you had something you didn't learn from making it the first time, and you just did the exact same thing here, and it didn't work again.
And got the same director back as well.
Yeah, fucked it up again. I don't know if New Mutants was involved here.
Oh God, Lord, that was bad.
That looked like it could be good. The two Deadpool films, brilliant, both brilliant. And they do a lot to bring back up this franchise. But because you've got 3 films in Back to the Future, which is, I know, significantly less than these have, but you've got 3 very good films in Back to the Future, and then you've got some very good X-Men films, some okay ones, and then some really, really bad ones. So overall, I think, Back to the Future deserves to go through here. X-Men making the same mistake twice is criminal. Yes, you can't be doing
that. Death nail. It's a death nail in a tournament like this.
Yeah.
So next up be my vote here. Starting off, it's number 3, which is The Wizarding World. So that's Harry Potter and
favorite,
fantastic beasts and stuff. So there's the 10 Wizarding World films up against number 30, which is the American Pie films. Now it's just a theatrically released film, so the 4 of them. So number 1, 2, The Wedding, and then The Reunion.
Yes.
It's like, as much as I love the American Pie films, and I really do, I would watch the 4 of them over and over again, because I really like them and I like the characters and enjoy that. It's and as much as I despise the Fantastic Beasts films, I really don't like the 2 of them. It has to be Wizarding World to go through for a vote for myself here. I can't not vote against it, because some of the original Harry Potter films are really, really good, which they are miles better than. Realistically, they're miles better than the American Pie films, even though I might enjoy the American Pie films a bit more. And so I'm going to have to vote for the Wizarding World. What about yourself, Ted? I'll come back to you, Greg, because you seem quite excited on this one.
American Pie is good. It's enjoyable. It's a good laugh. But that's all it is. It's a good little comedy thing to sit down and watch.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite to you in terms of the Fantastic Beasts. I've really enjoyed the 2 Fantastic Beast films. I've thought they've been really, really good, and I think it's a really interesting dynamic. Some people seem to despise them. I really like them. I think it's a really interesting dynamic going back. I don't like that they've made Dumbledore a nice suave character, because that doesn't make sense, because that's never been what he was. But it is what it is.
J.K. Rowling, so just go with it.
Yeah, so that's what they decided in there. But whatever. The actual Harry Potter films themselves are very good if they're not compared to the books.
Yeah,
that's where they get hurt. That if I compare them to the books, I'm like, they left this out and they put this in, and that makes me dislike them little bits more, and like certain bits of it and things like that. But overall, I'd sit down and watch them. I've watched them countless times. If they came on, I wouldn't turn them off ever. I always enjoy them, and because I enjoy these Fantastic Beasts run, it's an easy one for me to put that through. Like if someone gave me a choice of watching the Harry Potter films over the American Pies, I'd probably choose the Harry Potters. Like,
yeah, no, it's true. As much as I really do love the American Pie films, they're etched into my soul as from a teenager watching them. You know, they were just great, funny watches. But I can't vote against Harry. What about yourself, Greg?
I'm not playing.
Yeah,
I don't like Harry Potter, to be honest, lads. I've said it on numerous shows. I have seen them all twice.
you've seen them
and I
all
do
twice,
own
Greg.
No, I don't. That's a lie. I haven't seen the two newest ones.
That's fine. You've still seen 16 films.
I also own the Harry Potter wand somewhere in my house.
Yeah, see, loves it.
I have one here. I got one for the missus. She has Hermione's wand.
I have a snake eater, maybe. That sound right?
Death Eater.
Death eater. Yeah,
Death Eater.
the cobra head.
Yeah.
She loves Harry Potter. I don't. I never bought into it. American Pie for me was great growing up. Arguably, like people say, one is the best. I think two is the better one of the two of the original trilogy.
I loved
the wedding was
the
fun.
reunion. I loved the reunion. I thought reunion was great.
I am gonna go with American Pie shitty because it's not going out with a 3-0.
Fair enough.
More so, it's a bit biased because I don't like Harry Potter. But Sherlock.
I'm happy you got a vote. I'm happy.
But overall, if it was 1-1, I'd probably in fairness over the movies, you'd have to probably give it to Harry Potter. It's done more to society than American Pie will.
Yeah,
that's very true. That is very, very true. Next up, we'll start off with yourself, Ted. We have number 18 against number 14. So 18 is Planet of the Apes, and number 14 is Toy Story.
Now, Planet of the Apes, are we talking?
We're talking all 9 Planet of the Apes films.
Like, so all the old ones,
and then
the newer ones.
Yes, and the Tim Burton one, and the new trilogy.
The new trilogy as well, yeah.
Yeah, and then the 4 Toy Story films.
Yeah. Honestly, I enjoy Planet of the Apes. A lot of people don't enjoy it. I think of the original ones, they do trail off a little bit.
Yes.
The new trilogy was very. The new trilogy was very good.
I will genuinely, hand on heart, I'd say Planet of the Apes new trilogy is the best trilogy within the last 20 years. And I would argue that point. I would argue that point to the death, that new trilogy is just phenomenal.
I wouldn't be able to completely disagree with you, but I wouldn't be able to agree with you either, because in my head, I'm like, last 20 years, I'm like, wait, did this come in the last 20 years or not?
Yeah, of course.
That's where I'd struggle.
You could put it up against any trilogy and you could have arguing points for it.
Yeah, I do think it's very good. The problem is that Toy Story has released 4 films, and they're all bangers.
4 not so much. 4 not so much.
I really like
4 is deadly.
I think 4 is so good.
Wait,
I think it's a very 4 is the one where he's, he gives, it's the real heartbreaking ending sort of thing.
Sorry, there's 5. Sorry, there's 5 Toy Stories then, isn't there?
No, is there? It's
there's 4.
No.
Sorry, 4 wasn't great at all.
4 is the one with Forky and stuff.
Yeah, with Forky. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, I love it. I think 4 is brilliant. I think it's so good.
I enjoyed it, but it was definitely 1, 2, and 3. You'd put up the 99th percentile. All 3 of them are fantastic, and there's this. You can see the gap in how good they are between the first 3 and the 4th one. There is a gap.
I think the 4th one, the story is more about Woody and
tying it up.
him leaving the toys, and I think that's such a powerful
him
moment.
Coming to terms with his time up.
Yeah, and to me, it's such a powerful story to tell in a kids film. but at the same time, it's still like with kids can enjoy it, even if they didn't grow up watching Toy Story. Planet of the Apes, I think, as much as I love the new trilogy, there's some real stinkers in that series. So for me, I'd go Toy
mention
Story.
Tim Burton. I did mention the Tim Burton one.
Yeah, so I'd go Toy Story here because I've enjoyed
Mark
all
Wahlberg.
4 of them. Yeah, I've enjoyed all 4 of them, and I haven't enjoyed all of the Planet of the Apes films. I've enjoyed a lot of them, just not all of them.
Yeah, that's just I would vote if it was just the new trilogy.
It'd be a harder vote then.
I'd be voting for Planet of the Apes to go through, but because it's not, and the Tim Burton one is involved, I have to side with Toy Story on it. And I love Toy Story. Don't get me wrong. I have Woody up on my shelf here. Yeah. But yeah, it's just that's the reason there. What about yourself, Greg?
If it was the new trilogy, it might have a chance. The first one with Charlton Heston was brilliant in Planet of the Apes. 2, 3, up to 23 or whatever many there is, of them old ones. It's like they just churned them out one after another. They just went back to the same story and went back to the well over and over again. Then Tim Burton tried to get his hands on it, did it. And probably the only film that he's probably really done that has been a major fuck up.
Well, that and Dumbo.
Like, I'd say at least. I didn't even watch that. I can't. Well, I haven't seen that, so we'll say those 2 then. But for me, like 99% of his films are gold.
Yeah.
And there's a few of them I don't like. Doesn't mean they're not good. For me, the 4 Toy Stories are. Immense.
I think they're all bangers.
I'd sit and watch them. The way you said you wouldn't turn off a Harry Potter, I wouldn't turn off a Toy Story if it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
No.
I wouldn't turn them off either. They're bangers.
I'd slap anyone for turning off Toy Story.
Finn probably wouldn't let me turn them off anyway. No, Toy Story for me easily in this one. If it was, if it was just the original trilogy or the new trilogy, you might have had a chance, but not this time.
Yeah, agreed. But next up, we'll start off with yourself there, Greg. On this one, we have number 10, and so this is the 10th most profitable franchise in Transformers, up against number 22, Alien.
Whatever that is. Whatever that is, before you even said it. Transformers 1 was good. I was never a Transformers person. 1 I watched because it was Michael Bay and it was a big money movie coming out, and of course it's mindless action and it had Megan in it. 2 I watched surely for the scene where she was on the motorbike, where they showed it in the ad where she was bent on a motorbike, because I didn't really like the first one. I've seen parts of the rest of them. I know Mark Wahlberg take over.
He did, yeah.
And
then Bumblebee is very good.
She got dumped out. I didn't see that one.
Bumblebee was very good.
I'm not really a great fan of it. I will say though, the ride they have in Universal is pretty good. But Alien, how can you look past Alien?
Well, you're very easy to be honest, because let's be honest, number 1 and 2 are great. The rest are not. And then you're also talking about all like the new ones as well. There's some real stinkers.
1 is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like 1 is phenomenal. 2 is arguably just as good.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Prometheus.
Then,
counting Prometheus in it.
Yeah, all they're involved, and then the Alien versus Predator as well, and they're not good. 1 and 2, they're not very good.
They get it. That Alien versus Predator 1 gets a lot of hate. Like that tried to follow off the back of Freddy versus Jason, right? Also got a lot of hate.
And that wasn't what to do either.
Well, Freddy versus Jason they were the 2 biggest horror icons.
Yeah.
But the film.
That's what the world was calling out for, because that, like the film. I said it before. The film's like, if you watch that as a non-horror fan, that film is terrible. But if you watch that the way I've watched horror throughout my life, that film, you love it. You just, as bad as it is, it's entertaining because it keeps the story alive. You see two people that you've always wanted to see. It's the same way. Like for Predator, it was only ever going to be Alien they could cross it with.
That's true.
Shitty because they were the only two out there. But like it should theoretically be a non-contest because Predator has a really big laser gun on his shoulder, and Alien is the thing that's running around. But I enjoyed Alien versus Predator 1. 2 was terrible. I'm still going to go with Alien over Transformers.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to get much further than that, but
yeah, I know it's number ranked 22 over 10, and there's some real stinkers in the Alien franchise, and I haven't seen any of the new ones. So I haven't seen Prometheus, and I haven't seen the other one that they made as well. But
don't.
there's just so many stinkers in the Transformers franchise. I can't, with any good feeling in my heart, vote for Transformers. So it's Alien gets my vote as well.
Alien 1 and 2 gets it through on its own.
Yeah. What about yourself? Good guy, Ted.
Guy Ted. So Alien 1 and Alien and Aliens, so 1 and 2 are brilliant. Alien 3, it's a real slide.
Oh yeah.
And it just keeps sliding down from there. And there's no real ascent. Transformers 1 was very good. I really enjoyed it, and I was really looking forward to that. 2 wasn't great.
Has major problems.
It wasn't great. It was okay. It wasn't great, and it got really bad from there. Like really like going from Transformers, which was good, to 2, which wasn't great, like wasn't very good, and then plummeting down to being awful until you get to Bumblebee, which was really enjoyable, surprisingly really enjoyable.
But that one was the one not directed by Michael Bay, and his Transformers has made Michael Bay's career a joke.
Yeah. And I think that's what really settles it. I think that's what really settles it. Like there's more bad Alien films than there is bad Transformers films. There's 2 good Transformers films and 2 good Alien films.
The other way around, is it?
No, it's the exact same. They both only have 2 good films. Bumblebee and Transformers are good, and Alien and Aliens are good. But which one of those 2 is better? And the answer to that is that Alien and Aliens are better than Transformer and Bumblebee.
Oh yeah. You can't.
So that's it. Like yes, there's more bad Alien films, but that's only because they didn't make more Transformer films. So yeah, true. Alien goes through here, but I don't see it going too far. I don't see Alien going too far, considering how bad the rest of the franchise is after those 2.
That's very true.
Probably not.
Next up, and we're going to start off with yourself, Ted. And I'm sorry to do this to you guys, because I know you're horror fans, and I don't know your feeling on the other franchise that we're going to speak on, but I hope you are fans of it. So it's number 6 against number 26. Okay, number 26 is Halloween, and number 6 is James Bond.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yes. So I mean, obviously there's 11 Halloween films, and there's 25 James Bond films. So there's the most of any film of any franchise is James Bond. So obviously they're not all great, but there are some that are fantastic, and there's some really good Halloween films, but there's also some amazingly shit Halloween films as well.
Yeah.
So it's overall franchise. I know you might love Halloween, but take your horror biasness out of here while you're trying to think of this.
Yeah. Halloween. I really enjoy some of the Halloween films, and I really hate some of them. And that's the truth. I'm not a big James Bond guy.
Yeah.
I've heard really good things about the newer James Bonds, but I actually haven't watched them.
Oh, Daniel Craig's great.
Which is kind of the problem. I haven't watched them, so I can't really judge on them. I've heard they are very good. All the other James Bonds, I remember seeing. I don't even know what the name of it was.
Pierce Brosnan.
It was in like the 2000s, I think.
Oh, that was Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, Die Another Day.
Yeah, probably Die Another Day.
Or The World Is Not Enough.
Live and Let Die. Or no,
which one had Halle Berry in it?
Die Another Day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where
she done the same scene as the first James Bond.
I think that's the one I've seen. I've seen bits and pieces of the older ones, but I've never been a big James Bond guy. Maybe because I haven't sat down and watched them. Maybe if I sat down and watched them, I'd love them because the concept is something that I really like the idea of. But I think the newer ones are meant to be very, very good. But as I said,
really
the problem is I haven't watched them, so I can't give an opinion on them. And because I haven't watched so many of the other James Bond ones, I'm going to go Halloween based on the fact that even though there's some very bad Halloween ones, I have at least watched them. Whereas I can't judge anything on James Bond because I've seen like 2. Yeah, like I haven't watched those James Bond, so I can't turn around and go, they're better, because I could say that now, then go watch them and be like, they were absolute muck lads. How did I vote that? So like having off what I've seen, it has to be Halloween to me.
Okay, and what about yourself, Greg?
Right, so I don't like horror films. I'm just going to put that out there. Halloween 1 was what set the horror world alight again and set John Carpenter off.
Yeah.
And
the reboot was very good as well. I enjoyed that.
I only watched that there not so long ago.
The 2018 one.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a reboot, it was a continuation.
Fan. Yeah, it was a continuation, but yeah.
I'm not really the biggest fan, or I wasn't. I didn't really like 2. I thought 2 was stupid. 3 as a standalone movie was very old. The song would stuck in your head and would drive you demented. 4 was 5 H2O, whatever it was. They just became the same, just with a slightly different concept, or they're hunting someone different. It was the same thing over and over, pretty much. I was pleasantly surprised when I watched that 2018 one, but the 2 Rob Zombie ones were fucking woeful.
Yeah. I had told you that 2018 was very good.
Yeah, you told me a few times. I just, as I said, I was never really a big Halloween fan, so I knew the new one was coming out. So I went back and watched the original one, then I watched the 2018 one. Now, there's parts of it, like bits that make it go stupid, whereas the likes of Jamie Lee Curtis came back to Halloween H2O, but they're making it look like she's not seen him in however many years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this 2018 one is basically saying there was Halloween, nothing, and now this. Yeah, so they're basically cut out everything.
I know that. Yeah, it's just you can't seem to. I can't seem to let that go. But like, I was very surprised. I really enjoyed the 2018. As for James Bond, there's a few that I really like. I didn't like Daniel Craig as James Bond.
Oh really? I think he's great.
I watched
the films at least have been great.
I watched. Is it Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace? They were both him, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's the one with the oil.
Then Skyfall as well.
I didn't watch that one. I couldn't. After watching the second one with a minute, I was like, no. Octopus is my favorite James Bond. GoldenEye, Moonraker. There's a few James Bond ones that I really like, but eventually they all just become the same thing, basically. Save the world, get the girl.
It's a franchise.
I know. I think for what Halloween done for horror movies on its own, it probably is going to go through off me, surely because there could be any kind of spy could have done those movies. You know what I mean? It could have been single movies. Like each movie, it doesn't really follow a set pattern. There's no full story to it run.
Not until
trilogy.
the Daniel Craig one. Not until the Daniel Craig ones.
Yeah, well, I did.
Yeah.
I only seen the first two, and the first one was a remake. Do you know what I mean? So I think for what Halloween has done for movies, it's probably going to go through. No, that's not saying like James Bond probably like Halloween has some stinkers. James Bond, I'm probably sure I've seen them all, and probably has some as well. I just couldn't name them off because I just get bored watching them now. But it'd be Halloween for me.
All right, Halloween, true. My vote would have been for James Bond there to go through. I'm kind of shocked that James Bond is going out, but we move on. We move on. And we'll start off this one with yourself, Greg. The horror show is still horror films coming into it, but it's number 7, which is Jurassic Park. Up
It's not a horror.
against, it's not, but it's up against the horror. It's number 27 in Saw.
Oh no! Oh no!
I heard an
Is it bad?
audible
Two
gasp
horror
from you
show
there,
around?
Ted.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because I was really thinking when you were like, "Oh, it's up against the
Saw.
horror," I was like, "Probably go Jurassic Park." But Saw.
Saw is probably
Now,
the
bear in mind
strongest
there are
horror
9.
franchise.
There are 9 Saw films, so bear in mind that there are
Yeah.
some stinkers in there.
There's not really though. Every one of them follows a pattern. Like, is that including that new one, Spiral or whatever?
Yes.
I haven't seen that one, so I can't judge that one. Saw for me is probably one of the strongest horror franchises, as in it keeps to a level. Now, it might be near enough the same thing over and over again, but there's a story that it's following.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park though is Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Like,
but you have to, yeah,
Jurassic Park.
as much as I love Jurassic Park, and just to be clear, I'm voting for Jurassic Park here. Number 1 is probably the best. Like, if you put all the Jurassic Park films and all the Saw films together, Jurassic Park 1 is probably the best of them all.
Yeah, but it'll probably go Saw. It'll probably go Saw 1, 3, 4 then.
It'll
probably go Saw 1.
A lot
3,
of the other Jurassic Parks
Park 2.
aren't great. Yeah, Jurassic Park 2 is all right, and I like the new two ones as well. But the third one is shocking. I'm looking
that's another
forward
one of
to
those movies.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the new third one as well.
That's another one of those movies where you have to you just have to go in and watch it and forget things. Like, I'm I'll be a big fan of Saw, surely because of the originality that it came with. Now I know they've made 8 of them, but the invention to come up with some of them traps is just movie making gold. I think Ray will disown me if I vote against Jurassic Park though.
Where are you going?
No, I'm gonna go with Saw. I think overall it's a stronger franchise. Every one of them, Jurassic Park's probably the best out of all the whatever amount of movies there are. But I'd say there's more Saws in the top 10 than there will be Jurassic Park.
Okay, fair. What about yourself, Ted? You get the decision. Is it Saw or Jurassic Park?
It's such a hard one. I haven't seen the newest Saw film, so like I'm just not going to include that. I haven't seen.
It's very good.
Spiral. I haven't seen Spiral yet. The concept of Saw, I think, is horror was on a real downturn for quite a while, and then Saw came along.
I think for the wrong reasons though. Saw took horror films to a place that it didn't need. It took it to gore.
Yeah,
Saw took horror films
to
gore
though,
films, and I don't like gore films.
Yeah, so the thing was that horror was on a real downturn. Like, it really there hadn't been a good horror film in so long, and then Saw came along, and now Saw was less about like the original ideas of horror and more gore and blood and stuff, except for the fact that the concept was like a really horror defined concept of you're trapped in a room and it's you or them, and you have to make that decision, which is a fantastic concept to go with.
Oh, the concept's great, but all the
then
goriness was unnecessary.
and
I think.
I know a lot of people don't like the goriness, but I think that Saw did a lot for bringing horror back up for quite a while. Jurassic Park 1,
It also
fantastic.
brought James Wan.
Jurassic Park 1, fantastic. Jurassic Park 2, fantastic. Jurassic Park 3 really just didn't hit.
No.
I like the newer ones. I
like Lost World.
A lot of people don't like the newer ones. I've enjoyed both of the newer ones.
Yeah.
They're a bit they're a bit, oh, he's trained the dinosaurs and they listen to him. It's a bit questionable. But
of course.
I did enjoy them. Like, go in, sit down, watch dinosaurs wrecking people. Yeah, that's exactly what I expected when I went to watch that film. This dinosaur can go invisible. Okay, yeah, that's a bit much. Maybe probably shouldn't have put that in, but I mean, it's still a dinosaur going around killing people, and I enjoyed that as well. So, this one's really hard for me, but I do think Saw probably is the stronger franchise overall. Unfortunately, it does rely, and I think it's hurt horror as much as it helped horror.
I definitely think it hurt horror much more than it helped it.
I think it helped it a lot at the beginning, but because it got so gory, I think because it got so gory and people loved that concept of, oh, here's a horror that's really gore infested. Everyone just went, right, well, that's what we need in horror from now on. We just need loads and loads of blood and gore, and now that's all they do.
Well,
so I think it did hurt it in that.
Hostel made it worse.
Hostel took it to a new level, but that copied
it on the back of Saw. Yeah, I think Saw did a great thing for what it did when it first came around, but I think it did. I think it did eventually hurt it. If you take the two Jurassic Parks as two different, not different franchises, but two different trilogies, obviously, the first trilogy started really, really well and then ended badly, and this trilogy started well. Second one is questionable because you've got an invisible dinosaur, and we don't know what the third one's going to be. But it looks like the dinosaurs are going to be on normal land, which will be really interesting.
That's what I'm dying to see. Is what I wanted. Is what I wanted the second original one to be like.
Yeah. So once that comes out, that could change my mind. Like seeing dinosaurs just released into the normal human life, that could change my mind completely on this. But for the moment, I think Saw is probably the one that does deserve to go through here.
That's hurting me there, lads. That's hurting me there.
It hurts me a lot as well because I really love Jurassic Park.
Next up, I'm going to give my vote here. We have number 11 in Pirates of the Caribbean up against number 15, Mission Impossible.
Oh dear.
And my vote 100% here is because I think it's one of the better, in my opinion, one of the better franchises, and it is the best one of these type of films. So I think it's better than Bourne, better than James Bond. I'm going Mission Impossible. I'm first in line to see every single one of these films. I think they're excellent. It's Tom Cruise's best franchise, and there's a reason why Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. It's because of Mission Impossible today. He's built.
Is it not his only franchise?
Is it? Well, Top Gun 2 is coming out, isn't it?
I'm looking forward to Top Gun 2. I'm just I'm really looking forward to it.
But no, Mission Impossible. I like. All right, is it the second one that's purred one that?
No, the second one. Mission Impossible. Sorry.
Second one. Second one is the one that John Woo did with the Chimera virus.
The second. Yeah, the second one's bad, but every single other one is great. The second one's definitely the worst. But
I really like the second one.
The other
I enjoy the second one, but it probably is the worst. It probably is the worst out of the Mission Impossibles, but that's saying a lot because I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the second one is probably going to be regarded as the worst. As a standalone movie, that would be great.
But if you compare,
it was a different take on it.
If we're saying number 2 is the worst of the Mission Impossibles, that's still better than some of the Pirates of the Caribbean. And I love the original Pirates of the Caribbean a lot, as we've discussed on this show previously in our last Johnny Depp episode. But there are some stinkers in that franchise.
Yeah, this one's a pretty easy one to go through. Mission Impossible goes through. Pirates of the Caribbean, 1, phenomenal. 2, very good. 3 questionable. 4, 5,
A bit better.
getting better, and then like it had its dip, and it seems to be getting better. But the truth is, Mission Impossible, there's not a bad Mission Impossible really. Like you sit down, turn your brain off, watch Mission Impossible, enjoy all the action. Done.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the story.
So that's an easy 3-0 there, is it?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's one of the easiest ones.
Perfect. Okay. And so we'll start off with yourself.
That's another unlucky draw.
Yeah, that's true. The way things fall. Then we have 2 of the lower ranked ones here, and Ted, we'll start off with yourself. We have number 19 in Rocky up against number 23 in The Matrix.
Easy.
The original Matrix was absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
like the
amazing.
first one is just... I'm still mind blown by how good that was.
And still stands up today.
Yeah, I'm still mind blown by how good that was. 2 was still very good.
3 not so.
3 really went downhill. Are we including anything else from The Matrix?
Well, no, they're the 3. They're the 3 that were released.
They had like a cartoony type one as
well.
Yeah,
the Animatrix, but that was... I don't think that was ever theatrically released.
Okay, grand. Yeah, no, I knew it was on DVD and stuff, but I don't know if it ever went to the cinema. No, I don't think any of the Matrix are really bad. But,
no, I mean, none of them are as bad as Rocky 5.
Yeah, but I think even the bad Rockies
and Creeds are involved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. The bad Rockies did hurt Rocky, but then you brought back like Creed.
Well, I thought Rocky Balboa was fantastic.
Rocky Balboa was a good ending to Rocky.
Speech in Rocky Balboa.
I thought that was the end of the Rockies, and I was like, okay, that's the end of the franchise. That's Rocky. I was like, Rocky's done forever. And then they were like, we're going to bring out Creed. And I was like, oh, okay. Very interesting. And Creed is phenomenal. So I think Rocky does deserve to go through here. It's unfortunate for The Matrix because I think against a lot of the films that we voted out and some of them that we voted through, Matrix would beat them. But I think Rocky's lows are offset by some of the really big highs from Rocky as well.
Oh, 100%. 100%. What about yourself, Greg? Do you vote the same way?
Yeah, Rocky 1 is world class. You don't win an Oscar for no reason. Rocky 2 is arguably just as good. Rocky 3, a little bit of a dip, but not much. 4 was the biggest propaganda movie you'll ever see in your life. 5 was enjoyable. 5 was enjoyable for what it was. It wasn't part of the franchise. It had nothing to do with it. It should have just been like it should have just been a boxing movie. It's like they tried to restore 1 and start the franchise up again, and then decided halfway through, no, this isn't what we're doing here. Rocky Balboa was brilliant.
I love Balboa. And Creed 1 and 2, both phenomenal.
Creed 1 was Rocky 1 and 2 mashed into 1. Creed 2 was the other 3 mashed into 1. And they were unreal. I went in thinking I was going to hate them because of what it was. And I loved them. I only watched them when we done the sports show with yourself.
Yeah, very good films.
And I enjoyed the 2 of them. Rocky is a better franchise than The Matrix. I've seen The Matrix, the 3 Matrix, probably twice or 3 times. And to be honest, I still probably couldn't even believe it wasn't really going on.
I can tell you what's going on in The Matrix. I'm looking forward to Matrix 4, if I'm honest.
Yes, me too. And I look forward to Creed 3 as well.
I'm gonna rewatch it. I'm gonna rewatch the trilogy when it comes out, and I'll go and...
Yeah. Matrix is very good, but I think the highs of Rocky offset Rocky 5 is bad. That's about it, really, isn't it?
But that's
like
it.
Rocky 3. Rocky 3 is not great. I enjoy it, but it's not great. But all the others are...
4 is fluff, but it's a really enjoyable fluff.
Yeah, the whole Ivan Drago thing is great, though, isn't it? You know, if he dies, he dies. It's just great. Like
it's a great. That's an iconic line. Let's be honest, it's an iconic line.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Rocky gone through the next round, and now to finish off round 1, we have number 31 against number 2 Number 31 being Jaws, and number 2 being Star Wars.
Oh.
Greg, start us off.
Oh.
I hate to do
it. Can I vote for just one of the Jawses?
Nope, it's all of them are involved.
Do I have to vote the other crap in?
Yeah, all
Star
four.
Wars.
All 4 Jaws are involved.
Is there only 4? I thought there was about 54. It's got to be Star Wars.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna go into it. Jaws. After Jaws, it's just whatever.
Yeah, I don't need to. I can give reasoning for Star Wars when it goes into the next round. This is just an easy one. Star Wars.
Yeah,
I give Jaws a vote.
I hate to do it because Jaws is the original Jaws is
the
honestly
most near perfect film.
It's probably my favorite horror. Like I absolutely love that original Jaws film. I would rewatch it anytime, but I don't think I dislike any. Like I know some people dislike some of the Star Wars. I don't think I dislike any Star Wars because every time I go in with the concept of I want to see some space battles, I want to see people hitting things with lightsabers, and
maybe the Clone Wars, like movie.
Yeah, it's not great. Yeah,
it's not great, but
Clone Wars isn't great, but I still get to see people killing things with lightsabers and shooting things with saber guns that make loads of pew, pew noises. Like I can't say that I dislike any of those Star Wars. I can say that I dislike some of them compared to the other Star Wars, but I'd sit down and watch them again. I hate to see Jaws get knocked out, but as a franchise, Jaws is terrible as a franchise. The first film's unbelievable, and they should just stopped.
Oh yeah, 100%. They shouldn't have made more.
Like even Jaws 2 isn't good. So like, why did they continue making another one and another one? They should have just given up.
Well, that's why I like now. Spielberg got his hands back on it, and he will not give it up now because I think it's Sony are trying to reboot it, and he's just not giving it up.
You can't reboot it because
no one's going to touch it now.
People were afraid of sharks back then. Now, obviously, if you see a shark in the water, you're going to be fucking afraid of it. But like, you're not going to go into a horror movie afraid of a shark now because it was done to perfection.
Yeah,
it can't be beat. Yeah. It won't be beat.
Also, I mean, they killed the shark, and they killed the shark. It was gone. I know there's other sharks out there, but I mean, you'd have learned your lesson. So done. Should have just stopped at 1.
So that's the end of round 1. So we're kicking off round 2, and it's number 1 against number 16. Ted, will start off with yourself. It's the MCU against Indiana Jones.
This one's an easy one for me. MCU. Indiana Jones is enjoyable, but like MCU has just had so many big hitters. It's hard to look past it, to be honest. It's going to take something special to beat the MCU. And Indiana Jones, as enjoyable as it is, as a franchise, it's not something special. Well, it is something special.
It's something special. It's not
in terms of the type of film it is. There hasn't really been anything else made like that. But its lows are not going to offset the fact that Marvel have 2 or 3 lows in theirs. Yeah.
Perfect. Do you go the same way, Greg?
I take it you're going to vote for Marvel, so I'll give Indy a pity vote.
Well, actually, yes, of course. I'm voting MCU, of course.
Imagine.
I'd have been disconnected, lads. I'd fuck off and done. Bollocks, like.
Yeah, no, MCU.
Yeah, no, I'm only giving it a pity vote. Yeah, I'm only giving it a pity vote because I love the character.
Perfect.
So do I, but yeah,
it's Marvel has been the thing for the last decade, and it will always be remembered now.
Yeah, it dominates.
To be honest. That was a nice quick one. And so we'll start off with yourself, Greg, and I think this one will be nice and quick as well, because we have number 12 up against number 8. It's Shrek against Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Middle Earth. There's not real much point in talking about this one. It's
Middle Earth for me as well. Yeah, like I enjoyed Shrek, but the highs of Middle Earth are higher than the highs of Shrek.
And the lows of Shrek are
The
probably
lows of
lower than the
Middle-earth.
Hobbit.
The
Let's
lows
be
of
honest.
Shrek are so much lower than the Hobbit films.
Yeah, let's be honest. That's a nice, quick one to go through there. Here's one where it might get interesting. And I'll vote first. It's number 25 against number 21. So the two lower ranked ones that went through. It's Lethal Weapon against The Conjuring. Um, I'm going for just simply because I'm not a huge fan of horror films, and I do really enjoy the characters in Lethal Weapon, and the rapport that the three main stars have. I'm going to give a vote to Lethal Weapon because I'm guessing where it's going to go, and it deserves a vote. What about yourself, Ted?
Yeah, I really enjoy Lethal Weapon, and I'm sad to see it get knocked out. To be honest, like if it does get knocked out here, I really enjoy Lethal Weapon. It's like 80s action. Sit down.
Give it a vote. Give it a vote then.
Nah, sit down, turn your brain off, and just enjoy it. And like that's what it is. And I love films like that. Come home from a long day of work, and you're like, I just want to sit down, and I don't want to think about anything. I just want to put it on, and just if I get distracted by going to cook something or someone comes at the door, that's all fine because I'll come back and I'll find out where I was in 2 seconds. That's what Lethal Weapon is. You don't miss anything by not being there. You can come in halfway through and it's still going to be enjoyable. But yeah, I think Conjuring is a very strong franchise. It has its lows, but I think the highs of Conjuring are high enough to offset the lows of it as well.
Perfect. And Greg, you get the deciding vote on this one, so.
The Conjuring 1 and 2 for me brought back modern horror. It pissed away that stupid fucking Paranormal Activity franchise when that brought all the possession movies into it. But The Conjuring 1 and 2 are the two main ones in this franchise. Lethal Weapon has 4 good ones.
Yeah.
It pains me to do it, but I'm going to go with Lethal Weapon.
Oh wow,
that's fair.
I'm shocked, but I'm happy about it.
I think it's a franchise that has 4 good ones. All right, the one with Jet Li was a bit weird, but it was a bit of crack. But you look at Annabelle 1, you look at The Nun, the Tall Man or whatever, the Crooked Man that they were bringing out, the Curse of Lorna. I didn't realize it was part of it.
I'm pretty
I
sure
haven't
it
seen
is.
it, but all I've heard is bad things.
I could be wrong, but I think I'm pretty
but
sure
anyway,
it's bad.
There's a lot more lows in The Conjuring than there is in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And now, if they had stopped at 1 and 2, I could have pushed The Conjuring all the way to the final. That's how much I like the first 2.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Lethal Weapon takes this one from me.
Yeah, I'm not sad to see that. And I think had I given my vote to Lethal Weapon, I think Greg would have given the vote to Conjuring just to make sure that it got something.
Yeah, probably.
Perfect. And so Ted,
I was kind of hoping you went to me second there. I was like, no, please don't.
So Ted, we'll start off with yourself here, and we have number 17 up against number 29. It's Born up against Back to the Future.
Oh dear.
As I said, like I don't think there's really a bad Bourne film.
Yeah, I agree.
Jeremy Renner.
One of the
it's not bad.
The Jeremy Renner one is bad in comparison to the other ones. But it as a standalone, which is kind of what it is because it's the one without him in it.
Yeah,
it's quite good. As I said, like I know there is a plot line to it, and you do need to kind of follow it. But again, it's one that you can kind of turn your brain off to, and just like you can just watch the action if you want, and you'll enjoy that as well. But Back to the Future is something that I don't
quite agree with that.
I absolutely love Back to the Future.
I think it's one of those.
And I just think that one as its own thing, like of him going back, was brilliant. And then they were like, okay, we're going to make a second one. Let's go into the let's this time actually go into the future, which I thought was great. And then 3 again, absolutely brilliant with the whole throwback to the first one of the Sports Almanac and stuff like that. Like, this is so good. I'm going to go with Back to the Future because I enjoy it more than I enjoy the Bourne films.
Perfect.
And I just think it's a watch that you could do with anyone. It's, even though it's time travel, it's not difficult to explain the time travel in it.
It's a very simple concept. To follow.
Yeah, it's a simple concept, which is usually not the case with time travel.
Yeah, I mean, if this is for time travel films and how realistic time travel would be, this movie would have to go out because that's this is not how time travel would work. But Greg, how are you voting? Or sorry, Ted, you went for Back to the Future, yeah?
I would go Back to the Future, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And Greg?
I don't overly agree with Ted there. With the Bourne, you can just sit down and watch the action. It's mindless. There's quite an in-depth story to that film franchise. With all the characters and the interlinking stories, but it is a good franchise. But for me, Back to the Future takes this three great movies.
I agree.
One was obviously the best of them. 2 and 3 were probably on the same level. Just maybe a step below 1, but not on a massive slide like other franchises.
3 slightly better than 2, but
yeah, I love
3 is great.
And they tied it up. They tied it up nicely where they were just gonna say that this is it now, and that. At least they haven't gone back to it 100 times and been like, oh yeah, Back to the Future Part 76.
I hope they never do. Never do. But
I'm happy with where it is. Just
it's coming. It's coming.
It'll come along eventually. Yeah.
I really don't want it to, but it's coming.
Yeah.
Right. So Greg, we'll start off with yourself for the next one. We have number 3 up against number 14. It's The Wizarding World up against Toy Story.
Jesus.
I'll let the 2 of you deal with this one. I've always gone to Toy Story.
Yeah, I figured you would. I figured you would. You were not a big fan of the Wizarding World, as you stated.
There's no point. Like, I voted for it in the last one, surely because of what it done. But Toy Story as a whole for me is phenomenal. It's very hard to vote for something when you don't connect with it.
True.
So I'll leave the 2 of you to make that decision.
If I'm gonna be honest, if the Fantastic Beasts films weren't involved, it might be a bit more of a struggle for me to choose which one wins. But because they are involved and part of the franchise, it's an easy vote for me for Toy Story to go through.
Oh.
I'll give my vote to the Harry Potter Wizarding World because I don't want to see it go out with 3-0. I'm glad that you don't like those and were able to so easily do that because honestly, like, I love all of the Harry Potter stuff. So this one was near impossible for me. Like, I genuinely don't know if I could have.
Yeah, as I said,
it's so hard.
If it was just the Harry Potter films, I'd really struggle having to choose here, and I'd probably tweak to Harry Potter because I wasn't a big fan of Toy Story 4.
See, and I loved Toy Story 4, which again, it's just that's why I find it so hard. And I loved those other Harry Potter. Like, I loved the Fantastic Beasts, and I'm really looking forward to the new Fantastic Beasts, or I was until the revelations of the fact that I might be losing a character because of something silly.
Yeah, it's true. But the fact that it just comes down to, I dislike the 2 Fantastic Beasts films a hell of a lot more than I dislike Toy Story 4, which I don't actually dislike. It's just not as good as the other 3.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't say I'm sorry to see Toy Story go through. either, to be honest. So,
that trilogy again. If you're talking about trilogies in the last 20, 30 years, that original Toy Story trilogy without adding on number 4, that trilogy has to be there. It's
well, you'd have to go 30 years now.
That's 30 years now, yeah. Perfect. So I'll start off with the next one, and typical that this one would fall to me because it's 2 horror franchises and I'm not the horror guy. It's number 22 against number 26. It's Alien against Halloween.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I know you guys both have stomach ulcers right now trying to decide this one.
No.
I have to go, and again, I don't know how this is getting so far in this tournament, because I don't think it should be, but I'm voting Alien because the first 2 are so good. Ted, what about yourself?
I don't know, because Alien has had 2 good films, and it was the first 2.
Yeah. Steady decline since.
Yeah, Halloween.
There's
the first one
stinkers though.
Yeah, the Halloween, the first one, really, really good. Second one, not great, but not awful. The third one, very good. And then the rest are very, very dicey. Up until
2018, yeah.
Up until you get to 2018, where it's like, okay, they've found a big hitter here again. And because of that big hitter, I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to, because there's 2 more to come out after that. One of them should have already been out. It got delayed due to COVID. So
the other one should have been out this October, but no.
Yeah, but so it'll probably come out next October, whereas that one. So yeah, I'll go with Halloween because I think that the brand is on an upswing by the looks of it.
That's fair.
Whereas Alien just continued to steadily decline. I don't think it had that upswing back up. No. So I'll go with Halloween just on the fact that I'm hoping that the franchise has come back to an improvement with this 2018 film going forward.
Okay. And Greg, to end your torture, we'll move off this topic after you decide your vote.
It's actually quite an easy one for me.
Oh, really?
Halloween saved horror movies in a way. It brought it to a new level. It brought suspense rather than just I know it's a slow moving protagonist, but it brought daylight. It brought a fear to people due to the way it was filmed, due to music, due to everything.
But that is just
Halloween alone.
That's just the first one. The rest of them are shite as well, though. You have to remember that.
No, I understand that, and Aliens 3, 4, for me,
yeah, that's true.
Like for me, you go Halloween 1, you go Halloween 3, you go the newest one, then you'd go H2O, and then with the rest of the franchise being that bad, you'd probably go Rob Zombies 1 and 2. With Aliens, you go Alien 1, 2.
Then who cares?
Where do you go from there? Do you know what I mean? John Carpenter, like this movie, like John Carpenter became a magician.
Yeah.
It went on such a run of everything. If this went badly, to think where the horror name had gone would be detrimental to the genre. So it'd be Halloween for me.
Okay, so Halloween goes through to the next round. Interesting to see that one go through.
I don't think it's going to go much further.
I don't think it'll get much further. I think the bads will eventually catch up with it.
So, Ted, we'll start off with yourself for this one then. We have number 27 up against number 15. It's Saw against Mission Impossible.
As I said, I don't think there's a bad Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I don't really know if any of the Saws are particularly bad either. I think what this is going to come down to as I said earlier, I think Saw at the time revitalized and saved horror. The problem is that it also has now hindered horror so much, whereas Mission Impossible didn't save a genre, but it didn't hurt.
I think it has. Like, is there another action franchise out there? Like, that's not a superhero film. Like, can you name another action franchise out there that's continuing to go on? I think Mission Impossible's done an awful lot for action films, like for that spy genre, especially.
It's a spy movie.
It has, but I would say that when it came, like when the first Mission Impossible came out, I don't think it saved a genre. You know, I don't think it did anything special for the genre when it first came out. What it has done is has managed to remain entertaining entirely without hurting the genre in any way. It hasn't hurt the genre, and I think that's where my vote comes down to, is that Saw saved a genre, which is better than what Mission Impossible did, but it has in the long run effectively hurt. Like, I would love if Saw did what it did, and then it could remain as bloody and gory and everything as it wanted for all of its films. That's perfect, because that's what that type of film is. The problem was that every horror then was like, that's what people like, and we'll all do it now. Now that has stopped again, because the horror films
are turning in.
people have decided that isn't exactly what they want. So horror has gone back to being more about, you know, an atmosphere and a chase and things. And I'm glad that it's gone back to that way. But Saw did do a hurt to its genre, whereas Mission Impossible has just continued to be what it's always been, which is just enjoyable action with there's a spy, but I mean, if someone put on Mission Impossible 3 for you and you'd never seen Mission Impossible 1 or 2, you're not overly lost, to be honest. So he needs to stop him, and he's going to climb up that building and jump out of that plane and shoot guns and win.
True. And the fact the man does all his own stunts as well.
So for me, I think I'll go Mission Impossible there. It's a hard one for me, because I do think they're both great franchises, and I don't think either of them actually has a bad film. I just think that the fact that Saw has hurt its genre in a way is what tips it down for me.
Okay. What about yourself there, Greg?
I'm going to agree with Ted on that one. I still don't agree with Saw being the one that hurt the horror genre. I think Eli Roth took that to a stupid new level when he done Hostel.
But would he have ever gone to that level? Had they not gone to that level, would he have gone to that level had Saw not gone to that level and drawn in an audience?
When you look at the first Saw, right, the worst thing you see in that is his foot cut off.
Yeah, you don't actually see it.
You see, you don't see anything. You see Danny Glover getting his throat cut or shot.
But the blood splatter and the amount of it is everywhere.
There's not, though, because in Saw 1, guy lying on the floor, it's not real blood, right? Danny Glover gets shot. I'm going to say shot. He gets shot, he gets his throat slit, one or the other, right? That's not you don't see in an action movie. Eli Roth took the precipice of this and people getting tortured to a whole new level, where people burning people's eyes out with a blowtorch. I mean, this franchise didn't do that. Like, George A. Romero had 100 times more gore than the first couple of Saws did when he had the zombie movies. Do you know what I mean? It's not, gore wasn't a problem. It's just Eli Roth took it to a stupid new level.
Yeah, but I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have done that had Saw not done what it did.
Yeah, it became torture porn.
I don't know. Well, I don't really like the Hostel movies. Like, I can watch a lot of stuff, but it's just that's all it is. It's torture porn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not a fan of Hostel, but like, I don't. If Saw hadn't made so much money by doing like a smaller level of that, I don't think he would have gone for that, because I don't think he would have been able to sell that concept.
Yeah,
Saw having done it and done well allowed him to sell that concept.
Either way, I'm voting Mission Impossible here. It's just a an easier watch really than sitting down to watch Saw. As you said, there's what, 5 of them? Is it 6?
Mission Impossibles.
Yeah,
Loads of them.
5.
There's 6 Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
6. Yeah, there's not a
And
bad
I'd be
one.
more than happy for. I'd be more than happy for another one as well. Like,
Oh, I think there's
There
another
is
one.
another
There's
one coming
another
up.
one coming. Yeah.
yeah.
I think he just
As it
injured
says, like,
himself on the set, so they're again. So there's
Yeah.
a delay in filming because he injured himself.
yeah. No, I'm going Mission Impossible this time. Saw done well to get through the last one.
Yeah.
But it didn't do well. It deserved to go through the last one. But yeah, Mission Impossible for me here.
All right, that's 3 votes for Mission Impossible because that's where my vote is going for as well. We have a tough one here now though. It didn't really get talked about in the last one, which is number 2, and it's going up against number 19.
Star Wars.
Yes, as much as I love what it's going up against, I don't. Will it beat it? Because it's Star Wars up against Rocky.
Yep.
It's a tough one because there's not. I mean, it is tough. What do you think, Greg?
I'm going Rocky. I love the franchise. Yeah, even as much as 5 is hated, I still enjoy it. I'd still watch it if it's on. Like Star Wars, the original trilogy for me are the ones that I'd sit down and rewatch.
Yeah.
I won't rewatch the 3 Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. Actually, no, that's not true. I'd watch the Phantom Menace. I don't really like Hayden Christensen as Anakin when he gets older.
The sequel trilogy I really enjoyed.
They were all right.
And then the three spin-offs as well. Bar the Clone Wars, which wasn't great. The other two,
I didn't watch that one.
the two other spin-offs in Solo and Rogue One were some of the best Star Wars out there.
No, I'm going to Rocky.
You're going Rocky. I have to go Star Wars.
Yeah.
As much as I love Rocky, I really do love Rocky. But Star Wars is Star Wars. I'll be shocked to see it going out now, to be honest.
It won't go out, but
I don't know. Good guy Ted has that evil twinkle in his eye. But
no, this one comes down to what your preference is if you're more into like sports and boxing, or if you're more into like a sci-fi
fantasy,
like space battle. And 90% of the time I'd rather just watch some sort of mental space battle with loads of lightsabers and shooting and guns and stuff. I love all that shit. Like I love Rocky and stuff as well. And although there's only one actually bad Rocky film, I would say that Clone Wars is bad.
Attack of the Clones isn't great.
Sorry, Attack of the Clones is the one I was meant to say is bad. Phantom Menace I thought was very good. And I actually think they made a mistake by killing him. I know people might disagree with that they killed him, because in certain other spin-offs of this he's not dead and that he comes back. But in terms of the film,
he does get he does get killed, kind of, but his anger keeps him alive.
Yeah, but in terms of the films, he's dead and he never comes back in the films. So as far as I'm concerned, in the film franchise, he's dead. I know people might not like that, but in terms of the film franchise, he died there.
That's true. In the new canon, since they did make the Clone Wars TV show, and that is officially all canon.
Yeah, he comes back in that, but in terms of the film, and we're not including the Clone Wars. Yeah, so you have to just say he's dead. I thought number 3, Return of the
Revenge of the Sith.
The Revenge of the Sith. I actually thought that was very good. I know some people didn't like it. I thought it's very good. The new trilogy, I think each of those films is individually very good. As a trilogy, I don't think they're great, and that's the fault of letting different people direct 1, 2, and 3. Or well, not one and 3 are directed by the same person, but 2 isn't. And then the standalone films, I think, are absolutely fantastic. Some people didn't like Solo, because they were expecting.
They didn't like Solo because they never watched Solo.
No, I know some people who did, and they were like, I didn't like that because I expected this, and this. And I was like, you're telling me that when they announced a Han Solo film, that what you expected wasn't how he managed to fly. The whole claim
Do the
of
Castle Run, yeah.
how he did that. That is always what this film was going to be about. That was always going to be the main concept of this film. So it did that, and there was entertaining bits like how he met Chewbacca and stuff like that. Was everything I wanted to know about it.
Yep.
So I loved it. So for me, it's Star Wars. It's unfortunate to see Rocky get knocked out here because as a franchise, it's very, very good, especially when you include the Creeds. But personally, I would rather, if someone said, do you want to watch Rocky or do you want to watch Star Wars? I'd watch Star Wars.
Yep, same here. So, this is getting tough now, lads. We're going into the last 8. Into the last 8 now, and this may be the toughest one yet. I don't know where to vote because it's actually, is it my vote now? Is it or is it Greg's?
No, Greg went first there. So
no, so it is my vote. I don't want to vote first. It's the MCU against Middle Earth. Yeah, this is a really tough one. Kind of has me stumped. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't like the Hobbits, but there's some of the MCU that I don't like as well. But
it'll run the question of how much do you like the original trilogy?
But when you compare the original trilogy to likes of Endgame and Infinity War, it was all built up to that, and that's
I think the question you have to ask yourself is what is the highest of the high of MCU?
Yeah.
And then what is the highest of the high of that Middle Earth trilogy? And the answer to what the highest of the high of the Middle Earth trilogy is Twin Towers.
Yeah.
That's the highest of the high. The first one is very good in terms of it builds you up. It lets you get to see what the bad guys are. It's like as a story builder, it's brilliant. Second one is the best of the films
ever.
Yeah. The third one is we're getting into the final battle and they've split off. Well, I know they'd already split off, but it was like here's the end of them splitting off and all this stuff. The Hobbit, the first part is very good. The third part is terrible. The second part, if you took the second and third film, shortened them both down, took out all the fluff in between them, and just squished them together to make them one film, you'd have a really good 1 and 2 film. Even though realistically you could probably do it in one film.
Could have done it in one, yeah.
If you really wanted to make 2 films, that's what you should have done. You shouldn't have done a trilogy. MCU's lows are Hulk, which is the lowest of the low.
Thor Dark World
is pretty low.
Iron Man 2.
Some of the Iron Mans could probably go down there. And yeah, they're not great, but then they all built into
something better than the Hobbit.
True. Yeah. And I unfortunately, I would love to vote Middle Earth in here, but I think the highest high in the MCU being the
Infinity War saga, the ending,
Infinity War stuff, and even like the Civil War and stuff like that. But even Civil War as a standalone as well. I just think there's so much highs in that compared to the Middle Earth that I think as I said to you from the start, I think MCU it's going to take something very special to knock this out, and because because the Hobbit films aren't great, I think that knocks. For me, I think that is what pushes MCU through.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. You've kind of made my mind up there. Not convinced me or anything, because just kind of got my thoughts out on a plate. Spread out the facts. I'd be voting MCU there as well myself. Do you agree, Greg?
No. I would have voted for Middle Earth just surely because of how much I love the original trilogy. I know the others are in there. Two Towers is probably one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, same. I absolutely.
I love it.
The Battle of Helm's Deep was probably one of the best action scenes. The banter between Legolas and
Gimli.
Shall I get you a box? No, I would have put Middle Earth through, but
I'd love to put Middle Earth through it. Genuinely, I would love, because I absolutely adore that original trilogy.
Do it then.
But the problem is that The Hobbit was like, and don't get me wrong. Like, if someone puts on The Hobbit, I'll sit down and I'll watch any of those Hobbit films. Like, genuinely,
I don't know if I'd sit down and watch the third one again. I
sit
really
down
don't.
I'd sit down and watch the third one just for the fact that I like that genre of like orcs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of that type of film, it's really bad.
Here's another point before you finish this off, right? Marvel already have 2 winners in this film series.
Lord of the Rings is one as well.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings has one as well.
You're now going to put the MCU into
as a whole. I understand. I know. Yeah.
Into a battle with singular movies that have won.
I can't let that.
You can't let that judge like you can't let what could happen in the future judge what you should be voting on here.
I don't know. I think that the original trilogy would beat any 3 of the Marvel movies.
I'd probably agree there, but then The Hobbit, you have to take in consideration The Hobbit, and The Hobbit just does not hold up.
I think what you have to look at though is after a 10-year build, when you got to Infinity War and Endgame,
did they succeed?
Like people were clamoring to see that. Like absolutely, like I booked the second they were like, you can book seats for this, and like I don't mean like that day. I mean I was waiting. These go on sale at 3:00 today. Bam! I was in there and I was booking my seats because I wanted to sit at the very back of that cinema and I wanted to sit in the nicest seats that I could.
You're a back guy. No, I like to sit up front.
No, I can't crane my neck in a cinema. It kills me.
I always choose row 2. I like sitting right up the front.
No, right at the very back so that I'm at like eye level with the top of the screen so I can see the whole thing. I absolutely love that. But that's what you had to do if you want. Like, if you had a specific seat, it's probably not the same for the front seats because I think less people do like sitting in them. But if you want to get somewhere up near the back for that, you had to book at the start.
Oh, true, you do.
And I think that's what really sells it for me is the fact that after a 10-year build, 10 years of film after film after film, people were still obsessed with going to it. Yeah.
So the MCU goes through to the semi-finals.
Yeah. Sad to see Middle Earth go, but
yes, if it, that could have been in the finals. Let's face it. If it was ranked somewhere else in this, that very easily could have been the finals. Let's be honest. And if it was put on the other side of the bracket, it more than likely would have.
I think so. Yeah.
But anyway, next up, and Ted, you're the first vote in on this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's Lethal Weapon against Back to the Future.
Okay.
Lethal Weapon ranked number 25, Back to the Future ranked number 29. 2 of the lower ranks at the start because of box office brought in.
Yeah.
But where are we going here?
This again, so there's no bad Lethal Weapons. There's no bad Back to the Futures. So what this kind of comes down to is your personal preference on which you would rather sit down and watch. And I would rather sit down and watch Back to the Future.
I'm the same.
Lethal Weapon, as good as it is just an 80s action flick. Is it the best 80s action flick that there was? No. And we know that because we did 80s action with you, Carl, and it didn't win then. Back to the Future, is it the best sci-fi film ever? No, but it is. So
up there. It's definitely up there.
It's definitely up there, but when it comes down to a franchise of 2 franchises where neither has any really bad films, and they both have a 3 and 4 films, it's not that big a difference. Lethal Weapon has 1 film that's a bit questionable. That's about it. But so it's just down to personal preference here for me, and it's Back to the Future.
And Greg, what about yourself?
Game over here for Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. Back to the Future.
Riggs and Martha aren't going much further.
No.
He's too old for this shit.
Leo couldn't get him through this round.
Back to the Future gone through 3-0. Next up, and I think this may be the end of the horror franchises in this tournament, because it is Halloween ranked number 26 against ranked number 14, Toy Story.
Yep.
Yeah. Listen, like horror films are great. Like, and I love horror films. And Greg, it's Greg's favorite genre. The problem with horror films is it's very hard to do a franchise.
Yeah.
In terms of horror films,
there's
because
always peaks and flows.
Yeah, because you finish the first horror film, and either the bad guy has won, which is very rarely the case, or the good guys have somehow overcome the bad guy, and then you have to somehow get another film out of that, which is like, oh, he escaped or something else. Fine. It's very hard to make loads of like a consistently good genre of horror, like horror film after horror film after horror film in a franchise, because of that. Like, there's a limitation there of like, we can't do what we did in the last film. Whereas something like Toy Story, it's like, okay, we've got talking toys. What can we do? Okay, the first time, a new toy comes in and they are all angry. Grand. Second time, the toys get given away. Great. Third time, he doesn't need the toys, so they go somewhere else. And then they escape from there. And then the fourth one, they're with a brand new owner and a completely different film. Like, it's very easy to, like, you can jump around if you want.
Woody is wondering, is his time up of being a toy? Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you can go anywhere with that. Whereas with a horror franchise, from the first film, you're kind of pigeonholed into what you're going to do, unless you give the bad guy, like the horror villain, different powers each film for some reason, and then people will be like, it's crap, why does he have that power and he didn't have it before?
Exactly. It's a lose-lose, really.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Toy Story with a 3-0. Nice quick one going through to the semi-finals. And then next up, we'll start off with yourself, Greg. We have number 15 against number 2. It's actually a tough one. Mission Impossible against Star Wars. The reason I say it's tough is because, as we've said, there's not a bad Mission Impossible movie, really. Number 2 is probably the weakest. There's some Star Wars movies that aren't great.
It just happens to be my favorite of them.
Yeah. Well, that just says about your taste of film, Greg. That's all.
although you can't say much bad against John Woo.
But then there's not. I love Star Wars. Like, Star Wars is my film. Like, I love those movies. But number 2 is not great. The Clone Wars animated theatrically released film is not great. Some people rag on the sequel trilogy. I really enjoyed them. But there's not many. It's a tough one to decide. What do you think, Greg?
Mission Impossible 1 was brilliant. Tom Cruise, Ving Rhames, John Voight. Some of the twists in that you didn't see coming. I remember watching it growing up, and there was always something about your one in it that I was like, yeah. 2, obviously, I really love 2. I know it's got pretty much nothing to do with the rest of them, other than him being the same character. 3 is the one with his wife, I think, when she gets kidnapped and electrocuted.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
4 is 3 is the one they bring Nick Frost in as well. Or Nick Frost, Simon Pegg. Yeah. He becomes brilliant in that.
Benji's great. Yeah, Benji's brilliant.
And then 4 is the one where he climbs up the Burj Khalifa, isn't it?
That's 4 or 5, yeah. And Rebecca Ferguson comes into that then, and she's great.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go Mission Impossible. There's far more of them that I like than there is at the Star Wars collection. Like Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars. It's a struggle for me to pick after that. Like, I like Star Wars and I'll sit and watch them.
Yeah.
But I can't say I love Star Wars anymore.
Right. Well, I can. I can say I love Star Wars. And in these, between these two, I would say there's probably a higher high in Star Wars, and then there would be for Mission Impossible, but there's definitely a lower low from Star Wars than there is into Mission Impossible. And just for that reason, as much as I love both franchises and I love Star Wars, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm voting Mission Impossible.
Oh.
I can't believe I said that myself.
That's the second time I've done that now. I voted first, and I was expecting something different.
Greg or Ted, what way would you have gone?
I'd have gone the other way. I would have gone Star Wars based solely on the fact that even though Mission Impossible doesn't have any bad films, like even its worst film isn't actually bad, I don't think there's any films that people are like, that's so good. Whereas Star Wars, I think people do look at them and go, this Star Wars is just so good, like it's the best of that genre. I don't think that really happens with Mission Impossible. Also, there's the slight problem with Mission Impossible is even there, Greg was trying to, this is what happens in 1, this is what happens in 2, this is what happens in 3, 4, 5. You've no idea what happens in any of them. Star Wars, they're distinctive. All of those films are distinctive. What happens in episode 1, what happens in episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're all distinctive. And yes, there is lows in that, but I think the highs of Star Wars are higher than any high in Mission Impossible. The lows are definitely lower as well. The lows are definitely lower.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that Mission Impossible never has that true high, the way that Star Wars does, is a slight hurt on the franchise. But since it has no lows, that's a benefit for it as well. I'm not overly surprised to see it beat Star Wars, but I would have gone Star Wars myself because I think the bad films aren't. Some people really dislike them, but as I said, I enjoy films where you get to see people getting beaten up with lightsabers, and as long as I get that in a Star Wars film, at this point, I'm kind of like, as long as that happens in the Star Wars film, I'm pretty much going to enjoy it.
Fair enough. Next up, again, these are getting really tough, lads. These are getting really, really tough. So I have to start this one off as well.
Sorry.
It's number 1 up against number 29, which is somehow still there. It's the MCU against Back to the Future. Oh. See, as much as I love Back to the Future, I have to vote MCU. I don't really want to, but I good-heartedly can't not vote for the MCU against Back to the Future. As great as that trilogy is, it's the MCU kind of blows it away. So that's my vote. Unfortunately, I have to fall on my sword for that one. What about yourself, Ted?
This is such a hard one because Back to the Future has 3 films and they're all brilliant.
Yeah.
MCU has 28 films, some of which aren't very good, most of which are good at the very least, and then they have a load that's really fucking great. Really, really good. And the fact that they were able to do this over 10 years, they took something like comic books were not cool for quite a long time. Like when they first brought out Iron Man, people
didn't know who Iron Man was.
Yeah, they didn't like. If you liked comic books and liked all that superhero stuff, you knew what it was. But the fact was that people didn't really like it. Now superheroes are like one of the biggest things in the entire world, and most people love superheroes and superhero stuff now. That's how popular it became. It was unbelievable that it went from being this thing of like only the nerds like superhero stuff to oh no, everyone likes that now. Yeah. So they popularized something that was, for a long time was considered like the nerdy, geeky stuff, and now it's just the generic, everyone likes it stuff. And the highs in it are just so high. There is some lows, but after 10 years, if you still have people that invested, and like it ended, it ended, and then they were like, oh, by the way, we're going to release Black Widow now.
We have a shag ton more stories coming.
Yeah, like here's Black Widow, and everyone was clamoring for Black Widow, and it was really good.
Here's WandaVision, and here's Loki, and here's Falcon and Winter Soldier as well.
People all loved them, and it's like, oh, these are all after that. So here's the thing.
We're not finished.
We're not done. And yeah, we built up for 10 years, got you to the highest of highs. And yes, it's going to be a bit of a come down from there, but we're going to build you back up because we still have Guardians 3 to come out. There's a new Thor coming out. Like
There's
they still
Fantastic Four, and they haven't even touched mutants yet.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they're still going to continue on so strong.
Yeah, we have another decade of films at least.
Yeah, and I think that's where it is. I think the highs of the high in MCU are just so high that they easily write off any lows that are in it. And Back to the Future, as much as I love it, I don't think it can. As I said, it's going to take something very special to beat MCU, and I don't know if anything is special enough to beat it. True. So yeah, I'll put MCU through. I'm sad to see Back to the Future go.
Yeah, me too. What about yours? Would you have gone the other way, Greg?
No, I would have went Marvel.
It's hard to look past it, unfortunately.
But I'm giving my vote to Back to the Future. I'm not letting it bow out of here with a slapping in the semi-final.
Yeah,
but
that's fair. That's fair. Right, next up, and Ted, we'll start off with yourself. We have number, what is it? Hang on 1 second. Number 14 up against number 15. Toy Story against Mission Impossible.
As I said, like I enjoyed Mission Impossible. I think they're all very good, but I've loved all of the Toy Story films. And one thing that can be said for Toy Story that can't be said for Mission Impossible is that you can sit down with anyone and watch Toy Story. True. You wouldn't really sit down with a child to watch Mission Impossible. So I'm going to go for Toy Story here. I think I love the fourth one as well. I love the whole story of Woody coming to terms with the fact that he's no longer a popular enough toy to be one person's toy. So it's time for him to go live out in the rough, essentially, with Bo Peep as well and things like that. It was just done so well. And after such a big break between Toy Story 1, 2, and then the big break till 3, and then another little bit of a break until 4 came out, I think they did so well with every one of those films. And I think the highs of Toy Story are a bit higher than the highs of Mission Impossible. And since none of them there's no bad films in any of them, for me, it's personal preference. And for me, Toy Story is the one to go through.
Perfect. Okay. And Greg, what about yourself?
I think Ted hit the nail on the head there. You can sit with anybody. Whether you like cartoons or not, it's still an in-depth story that you can follow. The characters, you can kind of bond with the characters even though they're cartoons. Are supposed to be toys. They built the personal stories, the backstories, the friendships, the bonds. They built everything perfectly. And what was it, 25 years from 1 to 4, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Probably more, actually, would it be? 94? It probably would have been about that.
Yeah.
24, say 25 years or whatever it is. And to keep, like as you said about Marvel, building it over 10 years, Toy Story done it over 20. To keep people coming back.
Not as many films, though, in fairness.
No, not as many films, no, but the love and following that it has. Like, there was adults in the cinema when me and Ted, my missus, and Finn went to see it.
When number 3 came out and they were all going into that furnace, I went to the cinema at 10 o'clock in the morning before I had to go and do something that day. I was fighting back the tears, I'm not going to lie. I was like, no! Yeah. We thought that was going to be the end of Toy Story.
This is how it ends.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, they're not doing this, are they? Holy.
Like I love. Yeah, I'm gonna go Toy Story. It's not gonna beat Marvel anyway, but we'll give it a bash.
I'm not gonna. Again, I'm gonna do the same thing you did last time. I'm just gonna give Mission Impossible a vote, just to not see it get knocked out 3-0 um, in the semi-finals. But we have the finals here now, and we'll start off with yourself there, Greg. It is number 1 up against number 14. It's the MCU up against Toy Story.
This is why I love Rocky. I love an underdog story. On the Toy Story. I don't like. I have a feeling the 2 years are going to vote Marvel, and I probably would have voted Marvel if it came down to it. But surely because of how good the 4 movies are, I'll give Toy Story a vote in the final. So we'll go that
Toy
way.
Story.
I have a feeling. Unless I'm generally surprised. Although you've surprised me twice already tonight, Carl.
Well, whichever way, honestly, because whichever way you were going to vote, I was going to vote the other way, just to make Ted have the deciding vote on this one.
Okay, can you vote first then, Carl?
No, you voted already, so I'm happy to vote for the MCU because realistically, that is the one that should win this. So realistically, is the one. So I'm happy that my vote is going to that, because it is the biggest franchise in the world, and probably will be forever, because it's that big. It's brought in that much money. So many of those films have gotten over $1 billion, which is incredible that it's done. That so many of them has done that. So if we're just talking box office, like this, number 1 is Star Wars, number 1 is MCU, 2 is Star Wars. The MCU has nearly doubled, or has earned nearly double the amount Star Wars has, and that's phenomenal. I know there's a lot more movies, but still. And I do love the first 3 Toy Story movies, especially. But yeah, my vote will have to be the MCU.
Yeah, I think like the thing with the MCU is that yes, you have some bad ones. Hulk, Thor 2, Iron Man 3, which I think is terrible, but for some reason people on the Sherlock Reel think it's
it gets a lot of love for some reason. I thought it
gets a lot of love on bloody the Sherlock Reel. I was very annoyed about it knocking certain things out in a previous version of a previous episode of this. But as bad as there is films in it, they took 10 years of films constantly being made and constantly improving on them. They turned around and they said, listen, we're going to do Guardians of the Galaxy. And everyone was like, why are they doing Guardians of the Galaxy? That's not even that popular. And
who are Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, the only people who knew Guardians of the Galaxy were people who really read comics. And those people that did really read comics were like, they are not going to be able to do well with this. It's going to be so bad. It's going to kill the franchise. And it didn't. And they took risks because they were like, right, we have our superheroes. Let's put them all together in the Avengers, which I know was the plan as they were going along, but they took that risk. It worked. And they were like, perfect, we can keep going. So for every bad film that they had, at least one other good film. And then, or they had like at least 2 other good films and at least 1 great film, to counteract that. I do think that some of the films are considered not great. Like Captain Marvel, some people think it's not great. The fact
that's just compared to other MCU films. If you compare that to a different franchise, that's great.
Exactly. So that's the thing. It's not great. It's not good. It's not very good because it's not as good as this Marvel film or this one or this one. It's better than this one, but it's not better than this. But go and compare it to Superman, or go and compare it to Aquaman or something like that. And it's pretty good. Toy Story 1 was fantastic, and it inspired a generation. Kids loved it. Toy Story 2, everyone was clamoring when it came out. They loved it. Then there was a huge break and Toy Story 3 came out. And the thing was that Toy Story 3 came out and it was like, will this hit with a new generation of kids?
Yes.
Will this concept of some toys, like a cowboy toy, a spaceman toy, which are still stuff that kids play with. Kids still play with toys like that. But will the idea of like the toys come to life, will this still hit? And it did. And people loved it.
And the adults loved it.
And that was the thing, that you had these people who were now adults who had watched it when they were younger and still were dedicated to the franchise, and they wanted to go see it. And then they came out and they were like, I actually really enjoyed that. Like, not just because I enjoyed the first ones, but because it was good. And the same with the fourth one. Oh, I really enjoyed that because it was good. The problem is that it's only 4 films.
Yeah.
And although all 4 films are very, very good, it is still just 4 films. If you do make 28 films and they're all, and 20 of those 28 are really good, are at the very least good, and if not very good,
yeah,
it's very hard for something to beat you. So like, it is going to have to go to the MCU. But unfortunately, I think if anything comes up against the MCU, it's going to.
Yeah, its biggest challenge there was Middle Earth and possibly Star Wars.
I think had it come down to it and Star Wars, it would have been a tougher choice.
MCU probably still would have won, let's be honest.
It probably would have, but I think that would have been a more difficult choice. There's very few other things that could. You need to have a lot of films to stand up against them. Because you need to be able to go, well, yeah, they had one bad film, but it's only 1 out of 28. So you need to have a lot of films behind you to stand up against them.
The other one would have been James Bond.
James Bond. Harry Potter could have gone up against it. The Wizarding World could have, depending on who you had on and a personal preference on them, I could see that giving it a run for its money. But everything else was always going to just be blasted out of the water by it.
And I will say this is a rarity for the Sherlock Reel. The number 1 ranked film won. That doesn't generally happen.
No, it doesn't. I would like to have given that to Toy Story, but that would have been disingenuous to the MCU. Which, I tried to be as fair as I can in terms of like, this is the better of the things, so it deserves to go through. The ones that I don't vote are usually because I haven't seen them. So
which you generally say.
Yeah, like if I haven't seen something, I'll say it. Like I had to vote Twilight through against some stuff because I hadn't seen them, and I was like, listen, I have to vote it because I happen to have seen that, and I didn't see the film it was up against, even though it shouldn't have gone through.
Best vampire movie ever. Just saying.
Yeah, so good.
Said nobody ever.
Yeah, no, it's, the MCU was when you think about franchises, you think about, like, if someone said to you, name the top film franchises, the ones you're thinking about are MCU, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. That's kind of where you're thinking. DC would be thought about because you'd think of Marvel and then you'd think of DC, but you wouldn't be thinking DC is going to win either.
Exactly. Right, so we have it there. The MCU is the winner in the Sherlock Reel. We're going to say our goodbyes there now. I'll just start off by promoting the show that all 3 of us actually do together. It's a Retrotainment Recast. You can tune in and you can watch that. It's coming out later on this week. This week we did a recasting, as if it was being made there today, of Hook. You can enjoy it. It's a very entertaining show that we did. Other than that, Ted, anything else to promote?
Just earlier today, we brought out for Retrotainment, we brought out Starship Troopers earlier today. It's on YouTube on the Dynamo Podcast Network, where you'll find all of our shows and all the shows from the rest of the lads on the Dynamo Podcast Network. We were doing sci-fi for the month of July, so we have 1 more to go next week, which will be Jurassic Park, a big ender for the sci-fis. Unfortunately, we had to vote. Unfortunately, we had to vote it out here, but it's still it's only the first film that we're looking at, so it's a really good film. Yeah.
And Greg?
Just the same as Ted. If you wanted, I was on the slab with Carl King on the Dynamo Podcast Network reviewing Ravenous. That came out yesterday. Ted signed the deal to let me go over there for the day.
Loan deal.
Other than that, it's pretty much the same as Ted. If he's on a podcast, I'm usually on it. Check it out over on the network. Hit the like and subscribe button and the usual.
That is the Dynamo Podcast Network, on which the lads are speaking about there. That is where you'll find Retrotainment, and where you'll find Retrotainment Recast as well when that comes out. The show that I am on also. Other than that, this has been the Sherlock Reel. That's a wrap here, and we'll see you soon. Shalom.
Good luck.